Welcome to the Sportsman's Voice Roundup, your weekly look at conservation and sporting community news happening across the nation and on the Hill. Thanks for tuning in. This is the TSV Roundup. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday, which means it is now time for another weekly look at conservation news from across the nation. This is the TSV Roundup for the week of February 9th, 2026. Got a mixed bag of good and not so good coming to you this week. We'll start with the good, our lead story. CSF President and CEO Jeff Crane receives the 2026 Peter H. Capstick Hunting Heritage Award. Very prestigious award. We will get into that full article and talk about the significance of that award and what that means to not only to Jeff and CSF, but the entirety of the sporting and conservation community and what that really stands for. Next, we'll head to Georgia, give you a quick update about the Hunter Ed there in the schools from Connor Barker. You heard from him last week. Not so good in Indiana. The Hoosier State is entertaining a bill to do away with the DNR's board commission there. So we'll get into that from Bob Matthews. Maryland, for the third year in a row, is looking at an attempt to ban lead ammunition. That coming from Kaylee Leaguer. An update on the annual CSC Leadership Dinner, spotlighting bipartisan momentum and the future of conservation. Give you a little update on that dinner and how it went. Sportsman-focused legislation takes shape in early 2026 Arizona session. Kaylee Mortensen reports. And finally, we wrap things up from our forestry director, John Colclaser, with CSF supporting U.S. Forest Service wildfire risk reduction project in Montana. All that and so much more. But let us cover the great news, the good news of this week. Heading down to Atlanta, Georgia, where Dallas Safari Club held their convention and on their Saturday night banquet bestowed upon one Jeff Crane, president and CEO of this outstanding organization, a great award in the Peter H. Capstick Hunting Heritage Award. So obviously we at CSF are proud to announce Jeff received that, one of Dallas Safari Club's most distinguished honors, recognizing exceptional dedication to wildlife conservation and the preservation of hunting heritage. The Peter H. Capstick Hunting Heritage Award was presented to Jeff, like I said, on the Saturday evening banquet during their convention and sporting expo. The award's named in honor of the legendary author, hunter, and conservation advocate Peter Hathaway Capstick. The award celebrates individuals, organizations, or groups whose sustained contributions have significantly advanced the conservation of wildlife and its habitat while demonstrating a long-term commitment to protecting hunting traditions for future generations. Capstick's writings and outspoken defense of ethical science-based hunting elevated global awareness of the vital role hunters play in conservation, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire sportsmen and women worldwide. Peter Capstick was a powerful voice for hunters and conservationists around the world, and this award reflects the very best of that legacy, said DSC President Ray Mulholland. He continues, Jeff Crane exemplifies what this honor represents: unwavering commitment to conservation, thoughtful leadership, and a lifelong dedication to protecting our hunting heritage. For CSF, this recognition underscores the impact of Jeff's decades-long leadership at the intersection of conservation policy and sporting traditions, where he has worked tirelessly to ensure hunters, anglers, and conservationists have meaningful voices in the legislative and regulatory decisions impacting wildlife and habitat. Jeff joined the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation in 2002, where he was or has worked alongside multiple administrations and bipartisan leaders in Congress and state legislatures to advance policies that protect fish and wildlife conservation while preserving America's sporting traditions. Notably, Jeff is the only individual to date who has served on every federal advisory council related to hunting and conservation, a distinction that reflects his unparalleled expertise and trusted leadership across administrations. I am deeply grateful to the Dallas Safari Club for this recognition, said Crane. He continues, Peter Capstick's influence on hunting and conservation continues to resonate because it was rooted in responsible stewardship and respect for our natural resources. This award reflects the great work of an entire community, our team at CSF, our conservation partners, and the sportsmen and women who stand up every day for wildlife, habitat, and our outdoor traditions. I am honored to be a part of that effort and remain committed to carrying this work forward. In addition to his role at CSF, Crane has also served as chairman of the Hunting and Shooting Sports Conservation Council, chairman of the American Wildlife Conservation Partners, and co chairman of the legislative policy for the Alliance for America's Fish and Wildlife. Jeff's ability to bridge conservation policy with real world expertise in the field is exceptional, said Dallas Safari Club's interim executive director, Russell Stacy. He continues, his leadership has strengthened collaboration across administrations, ensuring science based conservation remains at the forefront. CSF congratulates Jeff on this well deserved honor and remains committed to advancing policies that protect wildlife, habitat, and America's hunting and fishing heritage. Uh, Obviously, that encompasses, gives you the story of the award and its significance, but worth repeating. Congratulations, Jeff. Hell of a leader for us at CSF and just a career full of passion and dedication for the entirety of the sporting and conservation community. And certainly hats off to him. Well deserved. Let us continue. Like I said, some good news coming out of Georgia. Just a quick update. The Hunter Ed bill that you've heard Connor talk about last week for sure, and a couple weeks before that, has officially made it to the governor's desk to the governor's desk. And now we just wait on Governor Kemp to put his signature on that. And as soon as that happens, we will bring you that update of turning that into law. As we head to Indiana to give you some not great news, there's a short-sighted bill to eliminate Indiana Natural Resources Commission, and unfortunately, has passed the House. We're talking about House Bill 1003. It passed out of its originating chamber, 67 to 29, and now it heads to the Indiana Senate. The bill stands to remove a wide range of government boards and commissions and includes the Indiana Natural Resource Commission. Removing the NRC would eliminate a well informed decision making body, as well as a dedicated forum for sportsmen and women that rely on that to voice their opinion in conservation issues. Obviously, we're opposed to this. Bob Matthews is engaged. Uh, Hopefully, at one point here, we can stop the forward momentum on this and wide sweeping cuts like this and Fish and Game or DNRs get caught up is at the very least unfortunate, but it bears a significant amount of education and further underscores our ability and our purpose of being in these state houses day in and day out as an organization working with the legislative sportsmen's caucuses and our co-chairs to really get the point across of a great example here why these commissions and boards are needed and why it is detrimental to wildlife conservation, to our sporting heritage and traditions, why this stuff should not be legislated by people who are, quite frankly, just not qualified. And how could they be? You can't know everything, can't be qualified at everything. That's why we rely on agency professionals and the discretion of those boards that are able to make those decisions so that they are not administrative executive decisions that could be subject to partisanship um, and potential political posturing. That's not how this science-based system works as far as wildlife management. So obviously, um, staunchly against such a move, and hopefully Bob can bring us some good news in the future about that getting killed before it would advance. An update here in Maryland. Again, not great news and kind of a continuation of the last 3 years. Our own Mid Atlantic Assistant Manager Kaylee Leaguer once again went to the Maryland Legislature and testified against a proposed bill to uh, to do a phase out of lead ammunition and usher in the use of non lead. We're talking about Senate Bill 181, and they had a target date of July 1st of 2029. Obviously, the two camps go back and forth. One camp says there is scientific proof. The other camp uh, debunks that and says, "Well, you really don't have proof." Um, while those two competing thoughts, of which we find ourselves on the one side that it not necessarily does not exist sound science. What is super important right here and right now is that if there is a phase out, um, most people don't have a non-lead variant or option for their firearms. Now you hear people talk about waterfowlers, and they've been doing it since the 90s. Okay, yeah, great, granted, and there's 2+ decades of availability for those shotgun variants, those steel loads and tungsten and bismuth, whatever else is out there. First and foremost, this is a an economic issue. People's personal economies are affected by this because the non-lead, non-traditional ammunition comes at a steeper price. Um, Ask a waterfowler, ask a turkey hunter that uses TSS loads, significantly more expensive, highly effective, but significantly more expensive. And I don't believe, nor should we expect the entirety of a population that is diverse in socioeconomic makeup to commit to, again, for turkey hunting, $10 a trigger pull in some cases more, depending on the brand of TSS you're buying. So it's just it's an access issue, it's an economy issue. Um, and then who starts coming out with the deer rifle and your rifle rounds that just don't exist? What is it made of? How much is it going to cost? You get into a management issue if you're removing hunters from the landscape just by virtue of access and opportunity. Who's out there managing those deer herds, especially in the Mid Atlantic region where they are inundated with white-tailed deer that need to be managed? Um, Yeah, there's just so much that goes awry with this stuff, and, just a phase out or just in some cases, some states have just tried to go to an all-out ban, um, is problematic, again, at the very least, and creates an incredible ripple effect. So, uh, we'll bring you more on this. We've been successful in thwarting this the last 2 sessions, so hopefully Kaylee, um and our sportsman's caucus there can head this off and continue to find other ways and give time and the marketplace an opportunity to bring about non-lead options and make that optional. An update here, our annual leadership dinner was held for the Congressional Sportsman's Caucus down there on the Hill, really spotlighting the bipartisan momentum and the future of conservation. And again, this is our co-chairs and caucus leaders and caucus members coming together for a night of celebration. And said it in the past, in an environment, in a political environment where things are considerably split and divisive, and find people find themselves on one side of the road and or the other. Our issues continue to bring people to the table in a bipartisan manner, bicamerally, to advance conservation sporting issues. Um, and it's proof positive. We've covered it in the past. So this is a night to bring that together and really focus on going forward. Just some notables here in the 119th Congress, the CSC co-chairs in the Senate are Senator John Bozeman of Arkansas, Senator Angus King of Maine. The vice chairs in the Senate are Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas, Senator Gary Peters of Michigan, and in the House, co-chairs are Representative Bruce Westerman of Arkansas, Rep. Jimmy Panetta of California, and the vice chairs are Rep. Austin Pfluger out of Texas and Rep. Troy Carter out of Louisiana. Most of those folks were in attendance for the event, along with our president and CEO, Jeff Crane, and our senior director of federal policy, or Taylor Schmitz. The Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus continues to set the standard for collaborative leadership and conservation, said CSF President and CEO Jeff Crane. By focusing on the needs of sportsmen and women, CSC members are advancing practical solutions that ensure America's sporting traditions remain strong for generations to come. The leadership dinner provides us with an opportunity not only to celebrate that, but to also focus on what is ahead and recommit to working together for what truly matters the most. And a tip of the cap to the CSC Leadership Dinner sponsors, as that was made possible by Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, Outdoor Sportsman's Group, Richard Childress Racing, Association for Fish and Wildlife Agencies, Synovus, Ducks Unlimited, Gunbroker, Hornady, International Order of Teddy Roosevelt, MVP Robotics, National Shooting Sports Foundation, Rather Outdoors, Safari Club International, Shield, Shimano, Silencer Shop, the Kinetic Group, and Wildlife Mississippi. We go west to Arizona, where Kaylee Mortensen is highlighting some bills here in Senate Bill 1155, currently assigned to the Senate Rules Committee, the Senate Government Institutions Committee, and the Senate ATT Committee proposes changes to complementary and reduced fee licenses for veterans with service connected disabilities. House Bill 2162, also in committee, would require that at least one member of the Arizona Game and Fish Commission be a cattleman or rancher. Early engagement is critical as the legislative session gains momentum, and CSF is working closely with Arizona legislators for Wildlife Caucus and the Arizona Game and Fish Department to ensure that the voice of sportsmen and women are represented at the Capitol. We this audience knows the position on free and discounted licenses is a top 10 priority for CSF to address. Not so much the free license part and recognizing those who are deserving, especially service connected disabilities, veterans that have those. Again, it's a function of paying that back due to our funding mechanism, how conservation's funding through Pittman Robinson and Dingle Johnson. So again, this audience is well aware of it. Multiple times a week we touch on this. But it every time it comes up, we got to acknowledge it. That way, if you are able to take action on this, you live in Arizona, you can call people up and say, "Hey, we love the idea of 1155, but we'd like to see a compromise on that and be able to continue funding the department so that everybody can enjoy just a beautiful state of Arizona and all of its resources." Interesting note here on 2162. Me personally not knowing the makeup of cattlemen or ranchers' sensibilities on this stuff feels like those individuals in the West, especially, have conservation minded intentions. Definitely want to get some further read on this from Kaylee, because as we seat people outside of the conservation space, well, sometimes that can be problematic on these boards and commissions that are rule setting and making the regulations for conservation and wildlife management. So, um, again, there's some concerns there that definitely those folks don't necessarily provide the same assurances for hunters and anglers and trappers. So we'll follow up with her and see what this all means and how it plays out. But hopefully, better conversations can be had and those concerns can be expressed. We're finally going to wrap it up in Montana. where CSF supports the U.S. Forest Service Wildlife Risk Reduction Project in Montana. Without proactive forest management, forest health declines and risk of high intensity wildfire increases, which is devastating for fish and wildlife habitat and can lead to public land closures that limit access for sportsmen and women. Forest health improvement projects not only reduce wildfire risk to protect nearby communities and support local forest industries, but they also diversify and enhance habitat and wildlife. John's highlights here reporting on a letter of supporting the Granite Moccasin Project. Um, and again, we've covered quite a bit of this in the past, bringing it forward, making it current for this particular one. Um, it's a shame that generations of people have been I don't want to say propagandized, but it kind of feels right. Just hammered with wildfire bad, wildfire bad. The whole Smokey the Bear campaign, as we now know, certainly uh, problematic, had its faults, has its faults, constantly beating the drum, wildfire bad, in insofar as its correlation to controlled burns. Obviously, I'll go back and amend my initial statement. Wildfire is bad. I'm not saying it's not, but people associate any fire being bad. That's what I'm getting to here. So obviously those controlled burns, removing and reducing fuel load, plus the management that John will talk about in the article creates that biodiversity of that forest makeup. Most of your ungulates and most game and non-game species alike, they benefit from those transitional zones. Having those young forest makeups as as a juxtaposed to an old growth forest, while they're beautiful to look at aesthetically, they don't offer a whole lot of value to critters on the landscape. Whereas those edges, those new early successional forests, you're talking lots of soft mass cover, uh, young critter rearing. Whether you're talking about turkeys and quail needing those underbrush stories to ungulate babies that are able to take cover and refuge in some of those taller grasses and the early successional to keep them away from predators. So all this stuff works in tandem. It's really beneficial to have the management and it's again, more education needed on this stuff to get people, on board and more accepting of these management practices. So we, again, we'll have some updates, as that goes. All of this stuff as it goes, and we're still early in most sessions. Um, so we want to make sure we're keeping things up to date on that. Quick adjust here and acknowledge things when I messed them up. I demoted Taylor the earlier one. I think I said of the senior director. Point of order: Taylor is our senior vice president of that. So my bad, Taylor. Did not mean to demote you there, and well deserving. So anyway, we'll leave it there. Just a hair longer than I intended to be on this particular program, but a lot of stuff to cover, a lot of good stuff too. So um, we'll leave it there. Another feature comes out tomorrow. So again, we're wrapping up our NASC session series, and here in a few weeks we will get back to our biweekly programming of those features, so you can start looking forward to that change, I guess, and being able to the off week go back and enjoy and digest some of this stuff. As I say every week, as it comes to the roundup, folks, this is the audio complement to our print edition. So our pub distribution rather edition. So make sure you're going to the website, congressionalsportsman.org, congressionalsportsman.org. Sign up for the free newsletter, free resource. We're not going to spam you. We want people to have this information, keep you current on what you're doing. Go to the in article links, do the deeper dive, see the bills, see the text, see the amendments to them, what's changing, what's being added, what's new, and fresh policy proposals, and then check out our other resources while you're there. Position papers on a myriad of policies, our updated policies, our priority policies. So tons of stuff there. Do take advantage of it. It's all free to you. As always, CSF is your inside connection to outdoor legislation. We'll see you tomorrow for the feature, and then we'll do it all again next Wednesday for the roundup. Thanks so much for taking us along as a part of your day. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the Sportsman's Voice podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, your support is crucial, and you can help us out right now by leaving a review, filling in those 5 stars where available, sharing this episode with friends and family, and engaging with us socially. CSF can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Together, we can protect the outdoor sports we love and continue to keep you informed wherever you are. That's it for this week. Until next time, we'll see you later.